All right, everybody, Kevin Harvell and Gus Emery from STLTechTalk.com here at the Kansas City Developer Conference, KCDC 2014. Sitting here with Seth Juarez from DevExpress.
Correct.
Seth, how are you?
I am fantastic. Seth. You know, Good. Kansas City is a fantastic city.
Shoot, yeah, it is. I'm having a great time.
All I know is I'm driving around and it just looks really clean.
Yeah. That was one thing I have noticed now that you mention it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So. It's clean, it's industrial, it's suburban, it's got everything that you can think of.
Everything in one.
Nice.
Yeah. As a friend of mine yesterday said, it reminded him of Pittsburgh, and he doesn't hate Pittsburgh, and he's from Pennsylvania.
Right.
But it also reminds him of like Chicago.
Oh.
It's kind of a conglomeration of that whole, industrial town and the suburban town all in one.
Some artsy. We got some theaters right around here. A bunch of nice hotels.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Power Light District. I mean,
barbecue.
Yeah, barbecue.
Oh man, Oklahoma Joe's last night. Hour wait.
It
was worth it.
Worth
Fantastic.
the wait.
I know we have some barbecue coming in for lunch today too.
Yes.
So
fantastic.
Back to back.
All right.
Can't wait.
All right. So, Seth, tell us about DevExpress, what it is.
Fantastic. So we build software presentation components for Windows and for web. We've also delved into the area of building mobile applications, the hybrid approach with PhoneGap or Apache Cordova. I get to talk, or I have a say in the analytics portion. So I get to advise the reporting group, the charting group, some of the spreadsheet stuff. I get to go in there and see what they're doing. As well as dashboards. My particular background is in analytics. My research in college was in machine learning, and it's just something I really enjoy, and I like doing data analysis. I like data visualization. It's just cool stuff.
Just keep on, keep on. Huh?
Yeah.
Data visualization is one of those key pieces, right, where it's one of the only ways that a developer or an analytics person gets to actually visualize what they've design.
Yeah, and it's the unfortunate thing is sometimes we use bad techniques, and so like for example, I'm giving a talk here at Kansas City in a couple of hours on what are some key things you can do. I think they might be recording it, so it might be up later on. But there's some key things you can do to make your visualizations a lot better, because if you think about it, visualizations are designed to make you understand data. By just looking at it. Have you ever looked at a chart and you're like, oh, this is just saying it's wrong?
You can't visualize something. It's tough to interpret it. What is the point is trying to be made there?
Yeah, and so at DevExpress, we build a series of tools to help you dynamically analyze data all the way down to statically analyze data. And so my threshold for analyzing data is static, which means like you're going to print it out on a piece of paper. That's report, all the way to fully dynamic, which is dashboards where you click on bars and things move. And then you have everything in between, like a grid or a pivot grid or a combination of a grid and a chart. And so that's how I see the spectrum of analysis. You have the static, where you just look at it, or you have all the way to full dynamic where things start to interact and move. And that's the kind of approach that we take at DevExpress with analysis.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. So how many times, this is not your first time sponsoring at KCDC, is it?
I don't know. This is my first time here. We might have sponsored before, but I don't know. All I know is that it's a pretty cool conference. I like the vibe of it. There's certain corporate conferences where it's like, not this vibe, and then there's the conferences where you just hang out with everybody, and that's I like this particular approach.
So what is it that brings DevExpress to want to sponsor conferences and help, without sponsors, conferences like this can't happen?
So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is in our community outreach. We feel that normal, everyday 9-to-5 devs are the ones that make the most impact. The ones that come to these shows, they want to know, hey, I'm suffering, I'm trying to get X done, I'm trying to get Y done, I don't know how to do it. And so they come to these conferences, these code camps, to figure it out. And so we come to these conferences to see if we can help them figure it out a little bit more through our speaking or through maybe some of our products, right? Sometimes we offer discounts when we're out here. And so we feel like this is the ground game. These components that we build are going to benefit the 9-to-5 dev that comes to code camps, and then maybe even the 9-to-5 devs that don't come to code camps.
Speaking about the 9-to-5 devs, I wanted to highlight one other tool that you do, and that's Code Rush.
Sure.
Which allows you to help template and speed your development, right? And refactoring
Correct.
and et cetera. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about that?
So Code Rush is interesting, right? I'll go back, because I joined DevExpress about 4 years ago, but I've been using DevExpress tools since 2006, and so they hired me from that. I remember one time I was pair coding with Mark Miller. He's the chief scientist over our CodeRush tool. And I remember as we were pair coding, he was somewhere else and I was typing. And every time I did something, he's like, Seth, stop. And he would tell me how to do it with CodeRush. And so I have the singular benefit of learning CodeRush from the guy that oversees the entire project. And so as he went through and sort of retrained me, I found that there are certain things that I do now without even thinking that makes it a lot easier. Like, for example, I'll give you maybe 2 examples. Whenever you want to put a new property, say a property that's a Boolean property and it's a public and it's a get set.
Yep.
Typing in public bool is empty, for example, bracket get set. I mean, that's a lot of typing. All I need to type is A, P, B, and then it expands it. Yeah, and tab or enter, and then you type it in. Here's another example of stuff that's interesting that's more complicated. And I write a machine learning library for .NET, and there's this tool called duplicate code detection. I know Visual Studio does that, but what it does not do is consolidation. Yeah, exactly. And so I went through and I'm like, okay, let me see what I got here. So I run the duplicate code detection. I find that there's areas in my library, which I thought was pretty clean, where the code was very similar. Okay. Not exactly the same, but very similar. And then it suggested how I might improve it. And so notice that we're going from the mundane, simple, we type a lot, to the, okay, let's take a real hard look at the code we're building and let's see if it's actually good. Because the worst thing is to cut and paste code, because if you put a bug in the cut code, you all of a sudden had it in the pasted code, and then you got to find it.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I like about tools like CodeRush is that you're talking about keystroke reduction.
Right.
Right? So we're taking 50 keystrokes down to 3 or 4.
Right.
But let's go one step further. That not only means less keystrokes, but more productivity for the dev.
And less errors.
Yeah, and less errors.
Right.
So the cost of the product for the enterprise is totally recouped within weeks of buying that and getting the person into it. Now, granted, it probably takes a month or 2 for a developer to get used to it.
Yeah.
But after that point, the whole cost of ownership just goes through the roof.
And I would not doubt that if you called or Twittered at Miller and like, hey, can you help me get started with CodeRush? I'll give you an example. I was at DevLink. You've probably been there one year, and somebody said, why is CodeRush so good? So I Skyped Mark, and I'm like, Mark, they want to know why CodeRush is, because that's his product. Right. And he's like, okay, and we fired up a GoToMeeting right there, and he answered all their questions, showed them all the code. That's awesome. He's really, we are really on top of that.
He's a really good guy. I've met him a few times. I've talked to him over the phone. We've interviewed him and had him actually demo CodeRush on a prior Codecast episode.
Sure.
But the product is fantastic, and he is just I don't know what to call him. He's just he's animated.
Let's just collectively say we have a man crush on Miller, but he doesn't.
Awesome.
I mean, he is fantastic.
Yeah, and he loves that people do have a man.
Yeah.
So outside of that, devs can reach out to you guys. Do you have any free packages? Are they all purchasable?
They're all purchasable, but we have a 30-day trial. But the thing I always tell our people is, hey, don't just try our product. Try our support.
Yes.
That's the key, right? Because, I mean, ramping up to these things is a little difficult. Like, for example, the first product I manage is reporting. Our reporting suite is fantastic because it can bind to anything from a database to an IEnumerable of T, and it respects hierarchy. It shows stuff. And so I'm happy to show people. We make videos all the time to help people out with that kind of stuff, and we're reachable via Twitter.
Perfect.
So, people that are just watching this that weren't able to attend the conference, how can they find out more about DevExpress?
Just go to devexpress.com, and then also if you want to see what I'm writing or what we're working on, go to devexpress.com/Seth. And so that's how that works.
All right, well, perfect. Seth, again, thank you. That we were finally able to get
Thanks
this
so
talk.
much for coming and supporting the conference.
Right.
Anytime. Like I said, I love talking about machine learning, visualization, and just data stuff. So
Definitely.
All right. Enjoy.
Very much appreciate it. Thanks so much.